So Michael Porter Jr., who is a professional basketball player for the Denver Nuggets, NBA champion, recently went on the Pivot podcast and discussed the WNBA. That made some comments. They got a few people triggered. Let's watch the clip.
You just recently re-signed or signed a new deal with Puma, right? I saw you rocking the Stewie 2's, Breonna Stewart, her kicks. Have you been outspoken about the pay, the wages in the WNBA and for those ladies?
Yeah, they did an interview with me. I mean, I see it from both sides. I know these females want to get paid more, and they're very talented, but so is a famous ping pong player. They're just as talented as the best ping pong player is just as talented as the best basketball player. That doesn't mean they're going to get paid the same because
they play ping pong.
It's what the people want to watch. You know what I mean? So, as much as I understand females wanting the same treatment as men basketball players, it's a different sport. People, they're not packing out the arenas. Obviously, their TV deals aren't the same. So, as much as I advocate for women and kind of the equality of the respect of their craft and all those things, I mean, you can't pay them the same thing, you know, but I do feel like there should be a little way to make a little bit more money for them because they are very talented.
But it's not as exciting.
No, it's not as exciting.
It's not as exciting basketball.
Yeah, you're not.
They got to lower the rims. I would watch a girl coming down the lane on another. I would watch that. They need to lower the rims.
They're actually, as a whole, women work the fundamentals more than most men do because y'all can do that.
Yeah.
And that's why
they play good basketball.
Right.
You notice at the end that Michael Porter Jr. acknowledges that they play good basketball. It's not as physical. The game and WNBA players aren't flying through the air dunking like the NBA counterparts. But apparently a few WNBA players heard some of the things that Michael Porter Jr. said and we're not too keen on the things he had to say. Now we're going to jump over to the Gilbert Arenas podcast where he has on Lexi Brown, who's a WNBA player for the Los Angeles Sparks.
So Lexi, you have some thoughts on MPJ's comments. Floor is yours.
Well, let me start by saying, I think his heart was in the right place. So I'm not here to shit on Michael Porter Jr. I do think he started on the right foot, and then he just kind of put his foot in his mouth. And like, my issue with the Pivot is they allow these guys to say things that they know is wrong, and they just are like, okay, keep going, or they'll feed them more information for them to then double down on the stupid shit that they had just said. So, I mean,
Discredit what he said. Well, what about his statements were stupid and or wrong? Just because you don't agree with someone's opinion doesn't mean that their opinion is invalid or incorrect. You just may feel it's not right. And then another thing that she said, what I think is disingenuous, is that she talks about the Pivot podcast giving men the opportunity to say silly shit. Man, that's a podcast overall. And podcasts have the right to discuss anything. You're on the Gilbert Arenas podcast, someone who's giving you the opportunity to discuss this topic on his platform. That's silly.
There's like a lot to unpack in his like statements, identifying us as females instead of women the whole time, that we can't get treated the same. And then he then says treatment to payment, which are two completely different things. We can still be treated with respect, and they can respect our craft without us making $20 to $30 million a year. Like, those things are not, like, both of those things can happen. We cannot get paid $30 million, and we can be respected and treated well for being professional basketball players. Lowering the rims comment, you already know how I feel about that. It's stupid. It doesn't benefit me personally at all because I'm still not going to dunk. Yeah. I can't dunk on a 10-foot rim. I'm definitely not going to dunk on a 9-foot rim. It's going to fuck up my shooting. It's going to fuck up everybody's shooting. And I just feel like the way he plays basketball, like, he shoots a lot of threes. I just don't. He doesn't dunk. He wants us to dunk. You dunk. Like, what are we talking about? It's a tired conversation. And I'm very annoyed with men continuing to create these spaces to discuss these things when they don't watch our games, they don't know us, they don't ask us our opinions about anything ever. And like, if you don't have to watch us play, that's fine. But
And I would give her some pushback, and I would think that the NBA players are some of the biggest WNBA fans, more than your average civilian out here, because the majority of the civilians in the world don't really care about WNBA basketball. Michael Porter Jr. is 6'10", by the way, saying he doesn't dunk, even though he does play more of a perimeter game. Stop the cap, lady.
Like, for you to just sit there and just constantly shit on our craft, our product, and everything without really being tuned in, like, it's not right. at this point. But again, you don't have to watch anything, but y'all always want to talk about us, so might as well watch us, shit.
And I take issue with a couple of things. She's talked about how people are always talking about them. People aren't always talking about the WNBA. This man, Michael Porter Jr., sat down for an interview, the Pivot podcast, that was just under 2 hours. And that was one segment of a 2-hour podcast in which they discussed the WNBA. They didn't talk about them for an hour and a half or 2 hours. And again, I'm looking at crazy for criticizing men for having or establishing podcasts and platforms to give their opinion on whatever the hell the topic is. Because again, you're on someone else's podcast platform that was started by a male, and you're giving your opinion on it, and you're giving more exposure than you normally would being a WNBA player. But you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of that clip from, I think, about a year ago when it was LeBron, Draymond Green, a couple of NBA players discussing NBA, WNBA dynamic with, I believe, retired WNBA legend Lisa Leslie. And she said something that got Draymond Green triggered. And you let her know about it.
NBA is rocking. What could we have more? I mean, I just think, you know, from a salary standpoint, it'd be great for the women to be able to make more money. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. I think I saw something that said like one player that makes maybe $12 million on the NBA team could cover the whole WNBA salary.
Yeah, that's insane.
So that's kind of like crazy. And again, you know, we're what, 26 years young, so it's not like we're comparing ourselves to the NBA, but I do feel like the pay gap would be something that, you know, we could just take a donation around the NBA maybe. Maybe one night y'all don't go to the casinos.
I have something on this, though, because it pisses me off. It pisses me off because I don't think there's anyone in America that supports the WNBA more than NBA players.
100%.
The NBA players support the WNBA like
the most.
More than we probably support the fucking NBA. And it bothers me.
You shouldn't be bothered because the WNBA players, I can tell you 100%. And we had a meeting for our 25th anniversary. We're like, do Zooms with the veteran, the legends of the league or whatever, and just talking about it. And I told them on that call, the number one supporter that we have, you guys never focus on, and that is the NBA players.
Watch this clip.
I don't know if you guys know this, but the WNBA actually loses money. Shocker, I know. They lose an average of about $10 million per year, ever since they started. So how is it that they're able to keep going as a league and pay their players? Well, that would be the NBA. The only reason the WNBA even exists is because of the profits that the NBA has made. So when you hear statements like, men should show more support for our league, just donate your salaries, it's no big deal, skip a couple nights in the casino. Don't you think that's a little entitled, considering the whole reason they're able to make any money at all and even play basketball is because of the NBA players making the profits they do? Even when they show support, NBA players get blasted for it. That's what happened to Andre Iguodala. When he complimented Ariel Powers, she not only told him to keep it to himself, but she also tried digging up old tweets from his past to cancel him. That's right, she tried to ruin his career just because he complimented her by number and not by name. And let's also not forget when Luka Doncic got blasted for wearing a WNBA jersey to show support for the Dallas team. The point is, NBA players can't win. If they show support, they're seen as egotistical, self-centered, and trying to make everything about them. But when they don't show support, they're seen as sexist and that they don't care about anybody but themselves.
Draymond Green was obviously spot on about being some of the biggest fans of the WNBA are actually NBA players. I think Lisa Leslie was a little misguided, or the person she should have been pointing at was not the players, man. It's out of their control. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. What do you guys think about Michael Porter Jr.'s comments? Do you think they were fair? Do you think they was out of place? Did you feel some type of way about him referring to the women as females? I didn't even notice it until Lexi Brown brought it up on the next clip. I didn't even notice that. Why is that such a triggering thing for some women? Just a weird head talking on YouTube. You guys let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do Better Squad. Fall out.